Like where I learned that you could start a fire with potato chips.
Yeah, you can.
You know, it's not what they're intended for, but they work great to start a fire.
And that would be a life hack.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax, HIPAA help is on the way.
Welcome to episode 409 of the Help Me with HIPAA podcast. Yes, we're going to clean up this episode. All right, Donna, you sounded better today.
You know, proving little every day, getting a little better.
Yep. And today we'll be covering 6 news stories that you need to be aware of because chances are it will affect you either directly or indirectly in some way, form, or fashion. So we're going to learn some things about, what happens when you say, that'll never happen to me. We'll talk about some things that you might have in your office or either your home that are now vulnerable, and you need to understand what that means for you. And then we'll also have the quickest and easiest way to become a multimillionaire. Oh, today's episode.
We'll save that to the end.
All right. Well, before we dive into our HIPAA Say What segment, I want to thank all of you folks who listen and who support us and who send us some money and help out our addiction to coffee and other things. We appreciate it. All right, let's dive into the HIPAA Say What. So, BAs, what do you think about them?
Well, I just a couple of times this has come up recently, and I just wanted to be very clear that BAs don't do partial HIPAA. They're like, well, we don't have to do all of HIPAA. Okay, no. What? So the thing is, you need to not look at it that way, because if you do, because I've just been talking with somebody who thought all I had to worry about was the cybersecurity. I didn't think I had to do anything but tell them when a data breach occurred.
Really?
You know, it was an incident. It was small, but nonetheless, notifications are required.
Mm-hmm.
No plan on how to handle it.
Any kind of website, certificate?
They probably could get one because they say they know they have plan or whatever, but when it comes right down to it, they just called me. But then we've also had when we're trying to vet a business associate and the client sends us the answers that they had gotten on, it's a standard thing they send to everybody, and we rarely have to see them. But it was pretty condescending attitude from the vendor, which is like, you at your point should be, if you knew what was really going on, you would have some of these things prepared so you could just send it back instead of throwing attitude because you're being asked about your program. And again, it was, the question was, you are aware that you could be audited by OCR for HIPAA compliance? And their answer was partially. So you're partially aware? I'm not quite sure what you mean. I can only assume that you believe that you are only partially going to be audited. I don't know. But it was the same people that did that their text answers were all quite condescending. So the thing is that you can't look at it like that, because what controls the parts of HIPAA that apply to you? First of all, security rule, done. It applies to you. But parts of the privacy rule apply to you. Minimum necessary, TPO, what is PHI, all of those things fall under the privacy rule. Those apply to you. It's not like, well, if we're secure, we don't have to worry about what else happens with the data. No. Nay, I say. There are BAs who get involved in direct patient engagement So they need even more of the privacy requirements. There are BAs who supply the release of information. Those BAs need to understand the release of information. So to make this blanket statement that BAs don't have to worry about anything but parts of HIPAA, thinking all they have to worry about is the security rule and covered entities have to worry about all the rest, is not true. They should worry about sections of the privacy rule, and that could be a lot more of them if their services they provide on behalf of the covered entity requires them to do some of those actions, and they have to worry about what the breach notification rule requires. And they really need to know about what the general rules are, but nobody pays attention to that any. So if they think that they only have to do some of HIPAA, everybody has to do some of HIPAA. There are covered entities that don't do all of HIPAA, just like there are BAs that don't do all of it. If it doesn't apply to the way you do business, then you don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I'm done
right.
now.
Get off that soapbox. All right. If you have any questions, be sure to reach out to Donna. She will help you out. All right. Let's jump into some of these news stories. The first one we're going to start with is sad.
Yeah.
Because I hate seeing this happen. There's so many different emotions when these things happen. So we're going to be talking about an allergy clinic that had to shut its doors because of a data breach. Now, I don't think they shut permanently, from best I can tell.
We don't know. I mean, this is...
Yeah, it's hard to even... I mean, I read the article. I even listened to the newscast, the interviews. They keep saying they shut their doors, but it doesn't say they closed down. So I don't know if we're talking about the same thing or not.
They've shut their doors and they're not seeing anybody. It doesn't say that it's permanent.
Right. So at the very least, they're temporarily out of business.
Right.
At the very least.
Mm-hmm.
I hate this, certainly for the patients. Very tough thing to deal with. I hate it for the practice because they are a victim. I have to walk a fine line on this one because if it's a practice that was doing nothing, then even though I feel sorry for them, I don't.
Yeah, I don't have empathy if you've done nothing.
Exactly.
But if you've actually put in the effort and you are attempting to do the right thing, then I feel bad for everybody involved.
Yeah.
So you have to feel bad for the employees too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So they got furloughed.
Yeah.
But so let's talk about what we know so far. And this is an allergy clinic. Is it Oklahoma? Yeah, Oklahoma.
Uh-huh.
The Oklahoma Institute of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology.
Yes. That is the nice short name. So, but I mean, you're talking about people that that have like allergy issues that require regular treatment to prevent severe allergies, asthma. Hello. You know, you need certain medications. These are chronic conditions. So that alone is a bigger problem for this particular group. They're treating chronic conditions, and you've got patients who are driving distance, which out, in Oklahoma, I don't know if you've ever been, but that track between Oklahoma City and Tulsa is destitute. It's like, it's got less stuff than I-16 running from Macon to Savannah. I know how rural it can be out there. Spent a lot of time out there. So you got people that are traveling to reach these specialists because of their chronic condition. And the thing is, the only notification is when you get to the door. There's a sign that says, we're closed. I think they said the sign says that they had a cyber attack.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, you didn't see the video, but they're like the whole entire door is full of signs. Yeah.
So, all right. So you got to find the sign that applies to why the door is closed. Is that it?
Yeah, there's all kind of stuff, call this number for this or whatever. But I thought it was interesting that they would put it all on the door and not have it out there like, social media post or any other ways that could possibly notify people. It's, you don't know until you're actually pulling on the door handle.
Right.
Uh-oh.
And, that only creates additional concern. It only ups the ante for the patients. And again, most of this stuff, you're doing this regardless of the type of business. You want to be prepared to service your clients or at least keep them informed, no matter what it is. So the fact that they have this sign and they said, we are unfortunately unable to access our electronic medical record. We have no office phones. We have no ability to communicate with patients and therefore safely take care of them. So we're closed. And here's the thing, though. You're supposed to have a plan. I mean, not long ago, we did a whole episode on the importance of communication plans within your response plan. Just a piece of the response plan. Not the whole plan. Just that piece. And wow.
Yeah. This also speaks to what we tell employees all the time, which is, look, you need to do your part for cybersecurity because it will affect you if your practice or your business has a cyber incident. And so we're seeing that these people are being furloughed. Now they're having financial setbacks personally because of a cyber event. And, hate to be the employee that may have clicked on something that caused this cascading problem.
Yeah, but you don't want to be that person.
Yeah,
the guilt is overwhelming.
Yeah. But let's say, and we don't know this, but let's say they have cyber insurance. Well, what good is that doing them right now?
Yeah. Not at all. So they said that and patients who the newscaster interviewed even said, why don't they put something on their Facebook page? If nothing else. Again, we threw that out there. There needs to be a plan.
Yeah.
But this FBI thing, throw that in there.
Yeah. So they keep saying that, the FBI doesn't know anything about this incident. And multiple times in the newscast, they're like, we asked the FBI and they said they didn't know anything about this.
Yeah, but somewhere the office says they've notified the FBI. So it's in a big loop.
Yeah.
But the FBI does want you to tell them.
Yeah. Maybe
when you have these.
Maybe the pop-up on the screen said it was from the FBI.
Oh man.
Yeah, we paid the ransomware directly to the FBI.
We don't understand why it's still not working.
I hope that's not the case.
But they didn't have a plan on talking to the media. They didn't have a plan for communicating with their patients. They didn't have a plan for any of this. It's pretty clear. I mean, if you're not even, how are they even communicating? I wonder if the employees came in and found the sign.
Yeah.
I've seen that before. But, there are people who are counting on them to be there, and that's why we need to be prepared. You need to have somebody there, but no one was going to volunteer to be the person at the front door. There's no way you want to do that. You got things to do, and I'm sure they don't want to pay somebody to just kind of hang out there and talk to people, because that, first of all, you'd have to pay a lot of money for that. But you furlough your employees, you give no notice to your patients, you got a big mess. But I do like the quote, and I'm sure, again, there was no plan on what to say to the press. So when you're talking to them, you get statements like, we're rapidly, as quickly as possible, accessing the paperwork we need to properly distribute patients' allergy medication to other offices, other providers, so that it can be done in a safe manner. Rapidly, as quickly as possible.
That's faster than rapid.
Well, the good news is they're working out a plan on the fly, but that is absolutely not when you want to work out a plan
No,
on the fly.
no. We hopefully they'll learn from this. My other hope is that other people learn from this so that they don't find themselves in the same situation. But unfortunately, you and I see this all the time where no matter how many times you tell somebody, look, be prepared, this is a possibility, more times than not, they're like, yeah, but what's the chances?
Didn't you just have that conversation with another client?
I'm currently having that conversation with a client. Yeah. It was one of those, we walked in and the downstairs is under 3 inches of water, which is, by the way, where our server and networking equipment is.
Ouch.
Yeah, been talking to this client for a while about having, proper business continuity and disaster recovery, and it just never was important enough until today.
And then suddenly it's important because oopsie.
It is on fire right now. And, I don't know if you know this, Donna, but talking about proper disaster recovery during the disaster is not very fruitful. So you kind of got to have it in place beforehand.
Yeah, you can't put your hair out when it's on fire if you don't have a bucket prepared to do that.
Yep. So anyway, we'll see how this all turns out, but it's just,
there is another follow-up article that's a few days after the one that we were looking at.
Oh, cool.
That does say that it sounds like that they're closing. Because it says a competitor is stepping in to help the patients. The Institute of Asthma, Allergy, and Immunology is closing, is what it says. And the Oklahoma Allergy and Asthma Clinic is trying to pick up those patients and take care of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And, the doctor's like, we're working very, very hard. So now it reminds me, JAMA, I think, is who did it. They just did a report and an analysis on, and I didn't cover it because it really talked about hospitals, but now I'm thinking, we really should look at it because it's going to do the same thing in a specialty's office and a doctor's office. Because their report said what people have to realize is that if one hospital or one specialty can't see patients, can't do business, then the surrounding providers, whether it be hospital or health delivery organizations, whatever it may be, they have to pick up the slack because the people still need care. And it is a study that showed it was a dramatic impact on surrounding healthcare facilities. And this, even though it's a one provider, one specialty office, we're not talking a hospital with ER and stuff, it's impacting because, Dr. Dean Atkinson at Oklahoma Allergy and Asthma Clinic had a full schedule already. Mm-hmm. I don't think they were planning to take 20 new patients or 30 new patients or whatever. That's just not how it works. So now they're impacted by the same problem. Yep. And it said that, and the doctor, who, again, you've got to feel for them for the fact that this is awful. It's an awful position to be in. But she said, I just want to reassure everybody that this breaks my heart. I've been in practice for about 20 years, and it breaks my heart that we can't effectively take care of patients right now in a safe manner. But then says right now. So I'm not sure. It's still not clear. Are they temporarily or permanently closing? But it said that, there's several patients. This is critical stuff. Mm-hmm. The asthma allergy, it's like the asthma folks will tell you, nothing else really matters when you can't breathe.
And it's true.
Without that, all the other parts just go, we're out. We're done.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, but the doctor at the open clinic that's taking people said, ideally, they try to get their records if possible. If not, we'll have to have them come in and try to do whatever we can to evaluate them. And that may be fully dependent on what they need. We are looking at doing also is adding additional appointments in the near future, depending on the volume that we'll have. So these folks are having to jump through hoops and figure out what's going on with these patients because there's no record. When you have something that's a serious case of asthma or allergy, the records are essential.
Mm-hmm.
So these are chronic conditions, just like privacy and security is a chronic condition that must be treated. So this is ongoing. That was updated. That last update on that article is May the 16th. So we'll see.
Yep.
But I would say that, oh, look, it's already made it to recorded future news. So...
Yeah, but how many times have you actually made a comment to folks like, if you have a ransomware attack, there's a high likelihood it will be extremely difficult to recover and it may even put you out of business. And how many times they just look at you like, yeah, okay.
I know, right?
Yeah, whatever. Because it comes off as a scare tactic. And we talked about this earlier when we were talking about some other stuff. It's like, these are not scare tactics. It's just the facts of what happens.
Mm-hmm. And you either look at the statistics and look at the numbers and work with it, or you put your head in the sand, whichever one you want.
Yeah, you can do that.
So we got links to all three of those articles on the page, but here is a live real world example about the importance of having not only just a incident response plan, but also making sure communication is very well thought through at that time. And I can tell you, there's some folks that have been with us for years and they're doing a deep dive and bringing in more people into the discussion. And by bringing in more clinicians and all this, they're finding things of, wow, what would we do if that happened? And that they had never thought about before, but it's very specific details because they had the big stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, what do we do if we're on the third floor and the elevators don't work? And you've got patients in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
What you going to do? So, lots of things. Electricity's out. What's next? Anyway. That's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
We're moving on.
All right. So next one, big data breach. If you're using next gen, you might want to pay attention.
Mm-hmm. Yep. They say that more than 1 million. Another tiny one. 1 million. For those of us who were there. I remember when that was a brand new movie and a brand new thing. But I know this to be true, is it did impact every single next-gen client. Because I know that we have clients been notified that nothing they had was impacted.
I bet you they're breathing a sigh of relief.
They are. Because it's probably their on-prem or in their own data center versus a cloud solution. And that happened at Allscripts, same kind of thing. But, there's a lot of details. And when they're big and complicated like this, we're not going to worry about those. The bottom line is right now is it seems that they discovered suspicious activity March 30th, and that between March 29th and April 14th, they had malicious hackers in their network. And they did gain access to the cloud EHR system, and they used credentials that, quote, appear to have been stolen from other sources or incidents unrelated to NextGen.
Sounds like somebody's using the same credentials.
Yeah. So it's a mess, as always. But if you use the cloud version of NextGen, this is a learning moment for those who aren't on NextGen, but you use a cloud, hey, we don't have to worry about anything. Everything's in the cloud. What about, the allergy folks? Everything's in the cloud. You're still not seeing patients. You're still having to deal with no access to your systems. So just going to bring that up.
Yeah.
It's just reiterating it.
Yeah. I mean, good luck putting that sign on your door. your data was in the cloud. I don't think your patients will care.
They don't. And it is an important point. Just by saying, well, we've done everything we were supposed to do, does not help a patient feel better about you. Not at all.
Yeah. It's like, okay, you could say, well, this is NextGen's fault, not ours. You wouldn't be wrong, but patients.
But who chose NextGen? Which one of you?
Yeah. Patients aren't going to care. They're going to be like, I need my medicine. I don't care that you can't get into your EHR.
Yeah. Which is why you just throw a sign on the door. All right. So we've got some smart home security things. Well, anything, just know there's some home technology issues that are cybersecurity concerns that you should pay attention to with all the remote work going on. And the cool stuff.
The remote work thing is heating up. If you follow that whole conversation, you've got people like Elon Musk saying that, get your butt back to work, get back in the office. This is not working out. And, I guess for some sectors, it probably isn't the best thing. We're not having a problem with it in what we do. You were work from home before work from home was cool. So
I know. We have never had brick and mortar. Never.
I know. So it's something that we did partially until, and the reason we didn't do it all the time was simply because people looked down on you. Like, what do you mean you don't have a physical office space? They don't do that anymore.
I know.
Yeah. What do you mean we have to meet on this thing called Zoom? What is that? And I don't hear that anymore either.
Yeah, everybody's like, no, you're not going to start doing video meetings. Then, you would have to put on clothes. Well, I do now. And because I was like, let's start doing video meetings. And they're like, no.
Yeah.
Okay, but then this rolls around and now everybody's used to it.
Yep. So there are some good things that came out of it. But back to the topic, which is you got all these people working from home. And, you could just worry about securing your own business network and business machines. Well, guess what? Now you've got home networks and home machines and home IoT devices and home routers and oh my, the problems they cause. So in the first article here, we have that the smart plugs, I use them, not this brand, but the Wemo mini smart plugs. I love the smart plugs. Like
I do too.
I'm walking to the room and I'm like, hey, turn the lights on, turn the lights off, do this, do that. And it's funny because like my parents come over and they're amazed. They're like, you have a smart home. It turns everything on and off. It's amazing.
And it is nice, but that means you've got to worry about securing them.
Yeah, which is what people don't normally think of because we put them in, we attach them to our Wi-Fi, which I will say that I was quite pleasantly surprised that my most recent ones that I purchased, they required you to put them on a Wi-Fi segment that had a password. They would not let you put it on an open Wi-Fi segment.
Well, that's great.
I was like, nice. I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
But if you're using the Wemo Mini Smart Plug version 2, you should get rid of them immediately.
Well, I love how they said avoid exposing them directly to the internet. You should never do that with these. And ensure that appropriate segmentation measures are implemented if they've been deployed in sensitive networks.
Mm-hmm.
So if my network has healthcare data traveling through it, is it a sensitive network?
I would say so.
Yeah. So the note was that it appeared that, they could trigger this from the cloud.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to be near the device, which is not a good thing.
No.
No. So for the most part, if you have Wemo plugs at your house, somebody better be checking them because there is a vulnerability in them that well, do you want to get into the details? Because, it's pretty cool on the article how it's showing you the little card and all the stuff. But researchers found it. And what they basically are able to do is trick it into letting them exploit it just by assigning a name longer than 30 characters.
Yeah, something that easy.
Yeah. And that freaks the system out and lets them get to stuff. So sometimes the way that hackers are able to do things is you're not prepared for somebody to do the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
If they start doing the wrong thing and the system freaks out, that's probably exposing some sort of vulnerability.
Well, the classic definition of a hack is causing something to function in a way it was not intended.
There you go. That's why we have hack my life and hack this and hack for that. Yeah, okay. Like where I learned that you could start a fire with potato chips.
Yeah, you can.
It's not what they're intended for, but they work great to start a fire.
And that would be a life hack.
All right, so then we have this other one that popped out. It's a firmware implant.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one, all right, has to do with a wide range of residential and small office routers.
Mm-hmm.
So let's make sure we understand that it allows the malware that's implanted on the firmware. Let's see, TP-Link routers. They mention, I don't know how many they mention, but it lets the router then become a node in a Chinese command and control network.
Yeah.
So you could be helping the Chinese steal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't even know.
No, and this is, and we've talked about this a number of times too, is most people don't keep any of this stuff updated. And so some of the devices they listed here are Linksys, MikroTik, Netgear, TP-Link, QNAP. All of these are very, very common brands. Right. Matter of fact, I owned some of these in the past. So they're very common home router names.
Yeah, and so this gets back to, well, I don't have anything they want. Yeah, you do. Mm-hmm. You got bandwidth.
Yep.
Processing power. And that's what they're doing. They're not targeting you, but they're using you as a weapon in their cyber attacks. Mm-hmm. So you're participating with the criminals who are doing this in these cyber attacks, or the nation states who are trying to attack us.
Yeah.
So I don't know. If you feel like participating in that, but if not, make sure that somebody is looking to see if you may have this problem.
Mm-hmm. As they say around here, you is either for us or you against us.
That's pretty much it. You're with us are you against?
That's right.
Absolutely. All right. So then we're down to.
We're going to teach everybody. No, let's say that for last. So LastPass, we talked about that in depth. Well,
Yep.
not talking about LastPass now, but there's some people that probably looked at LastPass and they said, we need to go find another thing. And they moved on to, another thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or they were already on something else. And now, guess what? Another one has had some bad luck. And if you use KeePass, KeePass, if you use that, not a good day for you. So for those of us who use LastPass, we were freaking out a while ago. And now the KeePass people, it's pretty bad for you guys. So looks like the attackers have recovered, have a way to recover the master password.
So, I mean, this one is very tricky. There's multiple CVEs involved, but you have to have a certain level of access, number one.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have that, so if I break into a network and I can get to the computers on the network, so this again gets back to, well, that computer's not exposed on the internet. It's on the network.
And then it's exposed to the internet.
So if somebody gets into the network and these statements of, well, we don't have to worry about that because it's not on the internet, you should plan that they're going to get in. And when they get in, we want to make sure they can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
We want to try our best to stop them. But let's assume they get past that. They get in. We want to make sure they can't get in any serious trouble. Well, if you can get to one of these computers and you discover it, they could pull the password right out of memory, pretty much, in clear text. Which this gets into memory dumps and all that stuff you don't need to worry about.
Yeah.
That's somebody else's job. And you just need to expect that they wouldn't let this happen. But there's a statement that KeePass has maintained that, quote, password database is not intended to be secured against an attacker who has that level of access to the local PC.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, this gets into the nitty gritty, but
yeah, that's almost like saying if somebody's got that much access, you got bigger things to worry about. but still not good at all.
Well, and there's this again an assumption that they're not going to have that kind of access, or they wouldn't be able to work their way in.
Mm-hmm.
That's I mean, you don't even have to really do anything. You don't even have to run a program. So the security stuff, but you just use the program that's already there and get a memory dump.
Yep. Just type one command and there you go.
So it's not completely impossible to do that. But the fact that they're like, password database not intended to be secure against somebody that has access to the PC. And just to add into the why we haven't rushed to something else off of LastPass is that there was another researcher who found a flaw in Bitwarden, Dashlane, and Safari that could be used to autofill save credentials into untrusted websites. So then you could take over the accounts. So, there's stuff there.
Yeah. We said this when the whole stuff with LastPass came out. We said that just because you haven't heard about flaws in other software doesn't mean they don't exist. And now it seems like people are taking a harder look at the software and now we're seeing the reports that, hey, wait a minute, some of these other things have issues too.
So that's why we didn't make any rash decisions. I mean, I'm still evaluating and selecting what I want to do, but I'm careful about it because this is hugely important.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't it suck to go from one to the other only to have the other one happen? It's like, Because I mean, part of me feels like if you're on a platform, just forget the whole conversation with LastPass. But if you're on a platform and it has an incident, maybe that's the best time to stay. You know, because they're getting all this negative attention and they're funneling all this money into R&D and fixing the problems, and so it may be a good time to stick with them, potentially. But that's certainly something you'll have to vet out for yourself and figure out what you want to do.
Yes, sir. I concur.
All right, so tell us, how in the world can we make $10 million quickly?
You go find this guy, Mikhail Pavlovich Matveev.
Yeah.
He is wanted by the FBI, and they will give $10 million
Wow.
to somebody that can lead to his capture.
Yeah, because he's prolific.
Yes, he is. He is prolific. I mean, involved in a massive amount of Russian-based ransomware attacks, along with, a lot of malware, a lot of just all around. He's the criminal guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This is the guy. And if you saw him walking by and you hadn't seen this before, you would be like, huh. Guess what? Not one of the pictures that they have of him that he has posted himself, because that's where they get them, has him wearing a hoodie.
I know. I couldn't believe he was really a hacker, because certainly you'd wear a hoodie.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, this guy, he's got a tattoo sleeve on one arm, and he looks more like a UFC fighter than he does a hacker.
Well, and he is missing that finger.
Yeah, he's missing a ring finger, which makes him look kind of odd, because it doesn't look like he cut it off. It looks like it never was there.
Yeah, can't tell, but he's got his hand held up without a ring finger on it.
Yeah,
and you can. It's like, so if you can't recognize him with this huge arm tattoo, the missing one finger, and you can't find him, you're not going to find anybody.
Yeah.
But there is a $10 million reward for him.
Yeah, it'd be worth finding for sure.
Yeah, if you're in the mood to get to Russia, because it looks like that's where he stays. He spends all his time in Russia, and he's been out of the country they know of just one time to Thailand, that they're saying. Well, not just one time, but he's previously traveled to Thailand. Because, he's got money. He likes to go on vacation.
Yeah, I don't blame
him. He's a businessman.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to make $10 million? There you go. Go find this guy, track him down, and it will probably make things a lot safer on the internet, at least for a little while. I mean, he's been involved in Lockbit and Hive, and a bunch of them.
Yeah. And he looks like a younger dude, so, I would create like a Tinder profile and trap him. He looks like he'd fall for a pretty woman in a heartbeat.
That's funny. Yeah. We'll leave it at that. See?
All right.
David's going to catfish him.
Right. I am. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And then I'll have enough funding to keep this podcast going for the next 40 years.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Because we'll be talking to the AI version of Donna at that point.
Yes, we're working on building that, folks. That's David's new idea, is we're going to build an AI version of me.
Yeah. We'll call it Donnie. All right, folks, that is our show for today. Thanks for listening. Be sure to join us again next week. Remember that HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.